Do you struggle with the top tier grind with today's sponsor, 3GE for War Thunder? You might be able to make it a little bit easier. All you need to do is click the link in the description, download the app, complete some simple task and you'll get some small amounts of golden eagles. Now if you sign up with my promo code EPGEK, not only will you get 10 GE upon signing in, but every GE that you guys earn, I will get as well, that I will be able to give away again in huge batches a few times every year. Welcome back, and today we are going to be playing out the J-10A, and right off the bat, this is probably one of the better top tiers to fly right now. Now it's not the best in terms of the kit, the gun and the missiles leave a little bit to be desired, but the airframe is very, very potent. The PL-12s are kind of just average, they're not fantastic, they're not terrible, they're good, they get job done, but they're really not an MRAM, but they are definitely sufficient. The PL-52s, and they are a little bit finicky. They are a slightly better PL-5B. They pull about 5 Gs more because they have a lot more AOA deflection in the fins, making the missiles a little bit more maneuverable. We also have ILCCM on these, and they are basically the same thing as on the R73 and the Magic 2. So we are talking about the gate with ILCCM. Pretty good at closer ranges. Longer ranges, they are relatively easy to flare, and especially when they start pre-flaring. You can tell that when I have the circle up, the circle is pretty large and they are pretty easy to pre-flare, but of course the enemy does need to see them. These things are pretty quick off the rail, and overall they kind of just feel like Magic 2s, except they are from AliExpress. They are pretty good, but the IR missiles really aren't that important anymore, especially when you are also carrying 6 of the PL-12s. And the missile set here is great. You have more than enough to deal with anything. The HMD on the right, it says 10 km. Luckily it is actually 19 km, so it's very usable, and overall I have very little qualms with this thing. The flight performance is a little bit questionable. At some times it feels absolutely ludicrous. You can pull 19 Gs if you start snap rolling at the correct amount of speed, and I think that's a little bit excessive. I'm not sure if that's realistic. You can go -9 as well. The maneuverability here is insane, and at high speed the speed bleed also isn't really there. And we did some 1v1 duels yesterday with Willy Walrus, if you know the guy. He was in the F-16, the Nets, that's the A model, and I felt like I had an edge. Now of course he is one of the better top tier duelists in the game, and I don't really hold a candle to him, so you know it was very hard to test. We need to do a little bit more testing, but the 1v1 performance here is very strong, especially in the first turns. You are able to basically play for position right off the bat. You kind of merge at like 900-ish, you slam on the elevator, and you will basically always get the first shot, making it very, very potent, very, very good for ARB, because in ARB you're not gonna run into many people that save their speed, that go into the slow raid fight, that go into the, you know, the long-term plan. Most people try to one-turn you, and for ARB that makes the most amount of sense as well, because in ARB you want to kill the other guy as quickly as possible. When you are on the clock, especially if you are in like a 1v2, 1v3, you don't have time to go for the prolonged raid fight most of the time, because you're probably just going to die to his friend, or he breaks off and runs to the runway, making all your setup basically obsolete. So, you know, getting quick kills is very, very important, and this plane has basically all you need. It kind of feels like, you know, Release Gripen. I don't think it's as good at super low speed, but it does pull hella, and it definitely has a very good stall as well. The plane is very controllable. I didn't really feel any glaring issues in the complete package here. The worst thing is probably going to be the countermeasure count, because you don't have that many. And the PL-12s just lack a lot of range. So at the start of the game, very often you will find yourself out of position if you try to joust with something like an MRAM. Now here we merge with a Mirage, and this Mirage 2000 has about 3,500 kills in the thing. And this is my third game in this plane, so I wasn't really sure what to do. I merged way too fast, and then I remember this thing holds hella speed. And because this is a Mirage 2000, I want to get behind him as quick as possible, because if he starts on my 6 and we are at low speed, it is basically over. So I'm gonna cut throttle here. I cut it a little bit too much here, but I'm trying to go as slow as possible so that the micas actually stall out, they start spinning. Cut throttle just a bit much, but in this scenario I'm feeling pretty confident, because he didn't counter my attack, and we are able to just kind of drift slowly behind him. Again, miss another shot, but we should now have plenty of position to make sure that he goes back to the hangar. Now, he goes in a spin. We almost hit the ground, because we are at a little bit of altitude, a whole ass 250 meters. He shoots a missile over our head, and now I want to get out of here, because we are about to get the 4 biggest paid actors I think I've ever had on the channel, and that is quite the reward. So for now, I know there is a guy or two on my back left. I see an F-15, I see an F-18, I see a J-10A. Now I'm not really looking forward to this, because I don't have any teammates in that area other than the J-11 all the way on the other side of the map, and that is not the guy that is locking me. So I think, well, if there's only 2 of them, I'm gonna use my HMD, I'm gonna turn around and shoot the missiles off. And then I notice I lock the guy in the middle, and I see 2 other missiles come off the rail. I'm not looking forward to this one. I'm gonna guess one of them is a Harrier, one of them is gonna be an F-15, and then another one is, I have no clue, because they're all overlapping at this point. So I'm just trying to get away from them for a little bit. There's the F-15, and I want to turn around with some terrain in mind so that I don't get locked up before I can lock them. Because now I'm able to turn around, get the HMD on target, and I can shoot my missiles off at the same time or even before they do. So I shoot 3 of my MRAMs or my PL-12s off. None of these guys decide to notch, try to go cold, try to do anything. And the Harrier also gets hit by the PL-12. We get splashed on the ground and my engine is essentially fucked. But luckily the AV-8B has the absolutely genius idea of putting his plane into the ground. I really don't have any words for this. They probably all greeted. They see one guy, there's 4 of your teammates, you all want to rush to get the kill. That's how you lose the game. And then we are on cocky pillars. And on cocky pillars it doesn't really matter where you go. People go everywhere, so I just kind of like to go a different direction every time. Try to hide in the terrain, either right, left. I never really go in the middle. I just try to find people that are somewhat secluded from the rest of the game. And on this map, most of the time, there's not more than 3, maybe 4 people around at the same time. But I'm already getting locked up over the mountain here. And then the second we clear the mountain, we're gonna shoot our PL-12s off. We are going into a bit of a notch. We're also gonna go multi-pad because I do want to close the gap on them. But luckily we kill them both. Missiles fly into the terrain. And now we have a 1v1 with the Su-27. Now the Su-27 essentially has no chance in this fight. Now he uses the terrain, I use the terrain, and we go up over his nose. Now I do want to be careful of his R-73s, but for now all I'm really doing is trying to get the position so that I jam the West, as some people might call it. I'm just trying to make sure that he can't shoot his missiles at me, and the second I see that his nose gets anywhere near on target, all I have to do is simply pre-flare, and then the R-73 really shouldn't be much of an issue. Now we already are kind of... He's behind me right now, but I have the position. I controlled him for a second to try and cut inside of his loop. I didn't need to do that. Don't try to replicate that. I had plenty of speed, I have plenty of position to simply just pull into this guy. Because at the end of the day, it's only an Su-27. So we disassemble his plane, that is going to be kill number 3. And we are going to fly towards the middle of the map now. But I'm not going to fly directly into the middle, because I do want to accelerate a bit first. As I don't want to meet some guy when I'm going 600 kilometers an hour. So I just break off for a little bit off angle here. And I'm just trying to see where the people are. Now I see 2 Su-27s on the left there, they are SMs. I see an F-16 all the way on the right. And this is what I normally cut out. I'm simply just flying straight, I'm not really doing anything, and I'm looking for someone or for something to happen. And then we get picked up by a MiG-29. And it's pretty close, as you can see by the RWR, and he's right there. Su-27, we start notching, but I do want to keep on the attack. Multi-pad the missile, but it hits the ground and it splashes me. They really need to fix that, because missiles don't have an explosion that comes out of the back of the missile. So if the missile hits the ground, it really shouldn't be blowing me up. And in this case, it didn't really do that much. But this is the issue with multi-pathing. It is a bit of a dice roll. My game could have ended right then and there. And then the missile comes in, and I think it's a 27 ET. So instead of notching it and trying to flare it, I'm just gonna fly behind the cock and block the missile that way. Now we are completely safe, but I'm gonna wait for them to start doing something. I only have 2 IR missiles left, and of course my cannon. The damage here isn't really substantial. Yeah, it's an Oris fuselage, but it's not really doing much. So I feel like I'm getting locked. I'm gonna dip into the canyon and just pop out somewhere randomly, to give myself a little bit more time to react. This will also make sure that I am not spotted. We are on 101% afterburner in case you aren't aware. I'm trying to save some fuel here because 8 minutes, they don't really last you very long. And you can carry fuel tanks on this thing, but let me tell you, you have to swap out some missiles for that. And personally, I am not a massive fan of that. Now here, we see 2 guys on the right, we see 1 on the radar on the left, so I thought, well, that's gonna be a guy. Nope, it's an AI, but that makes it so that we can now engage the 2 guys that are engaging the Gripen, that are probably not gonna be looking at me. And that's perfect, because I am using IR missiles at this point. So I'm gonna shoot the first missile at the guy that's actually further away. Should be a pretty easy kill, he's way too slow. And he gets killed. I don't want to shoot my missile at that angle. Wasn't very confident it was going to hit, because I'm going to get another angle right there. And he is going to go straight back to the hangar. That's going to be kill number 5 and 6. And then we dive back out and go back into the terrain. Now both of them are still somewhat operable. So I just want to pre-flare a little bit. Make sure that we don't get fucked by some HMD missile by a dude that is already dead. There's kill number 5. And then we wait a little bit longer for kill number 6. And we go into the terrain here to dodge the missiles of the F-15. And the F-15 just took off. So this guy, when I'm on 3 or 4 minutes of fuel, is not going to hold a candle to my flight performance. And all he really needs to do is run away here. But instead he tries to reverse the J-10 that has 3.5 minutes of fuel left. So I'm not entirely sure what his battle plan was there. We disassemble his plane. We go up. And I'm going to try to like secure him. But this guy really didn't want to die. Now sure, I need to hit his cockpit. Or I need to kill both of his engines or whatever. But like, why is this guy not dead? Why is this a severe? Why can't this just count as a kill? He shoots an aim-9M at us. Make sure that I pull out of the way. And this guy's just gonna be in a flat spin until he hits the ground. Because, you know, Gaijin, I guess. But yeah, that's really all I have for you today. The plane overall is very, very capable. A little bit gimmicky and it has some flaws. But, you know, overall, very well-rounded package. And definitely worth your time if you want a slightly different experience. And if you like something like the Gripen, if you have flown that thing already. And that's all. Thank you all for watching. You'll see me in the next one, probably tomorrow with the P-16.